brilliant thing about Britain is, and not every country has this, Thursday evening, Friday, everyone's going home, weekend in their constituencies. What people tell you, impacts on British politics in a way that I don't think, every other country in the world has in the same way. That's the strength of our parliamentary system, and more than who's doing what, people want to be able to see that positive impact in their local areas. I mean, if you can doing that, that's how you bring people into this.
Jonathan Reynolds, Chief Whip, thank you for speaking to Times Radio. What did you make of that?
I really liked it. I mean, obviously I know him from Greater Manchester, but I think his job was to have the tone of optimism which he came out with. I think, obviously, with such a strong association between him and the north of England, he had to make that point, which he did skillfully. His job as mayor was to fight for Greater Manchester. Now it's to fight for the whole country when he becomes Prime Minister. And I think the kind of things he was talking about, particularly something which I know is very important to him, which is this sense that areas need more kind of control, more power, decentralised to them, the devolution agenda, and that's for the benefit of the whole country. I think that resonates in every bit of the UK.
And he's made some big promises of changing how politics works, getting rid of factionalism in the Labour Party. How doable are those things?
Look, I mean, any leader needs to unite their own side, especially when you have the kind of challenges. I mean, Labour is the party that faces the challenge everywhere, if you like. We've got Plaid Cymru, SNP, Reform, Restore, Lib Dems, even the Tories, the Greens. So, you can't imitate any one of those opponents. You've got to have something which is classically yours. I think on his views on politics more generally, I mean, look, very few people would probably say they're completely satisfied with how British politics works right now. And at the same time, what is interesting about how he has been the mayor, people might think Greater Manchester is a very strong Labour area. Well, yes, but there's significant representation for the Conservatives historically. There's always been Liberal areas of Greater Manchester. You've now got, the Greens and other parties on the pitch of reform after the elections. And he has always been someone, the whole area kind of has this, that has made real progress by not sort of taking politics out of it. There are disagreements, but by doing it in a way which I actually think has been a big part of Greater Manchester's success.
And he said he wants to appeal to business. You're obviously former business secretary. Do you think that'll be enough for business? Do you think what are the concerns?
They will be pleased to hear that, and they should do, because he has had a great relationship with the business community as mayor. But like anyone, they'll be saying, well, what does this mean? What is the outcome? What is the policies? I mean, if you think about the central challenge, most people would say we have in the UK, people want to be better off. They're feeling the pinch of the cost of living. You've simply got to have a strong relationship with the private sector to do it. And where as mayor he's done, things which people might be aware of, public control of the buses, it's done in a way which actually has been of significant benefit to business. I mean, the labour market, access to jobs, opportunity is better now because of what he has done as mayor. But of course people will say, well, let's see what he's going to take forward nationally to prove that.
And obviously Monday we see cabinet appointments. You have done some reshuffles yourself in your day. You know about how these things work. Do you buy the fact that he says he still hasn't decided on the big post?
Well, look, I mean, they're such a feature of politics, and they're difficult because, people will be up, people will be down. I think how you do them, the respect you show people, if it's not maybe going in a way that they want, is a really important part of that. They never quite go to plan as well. You've got to have a few plan Bs and plan Cs of them when you go forward. But look, I think because he's had such a strong leadership campaign, clearly he was the winner today. There was no suspense of that. You get a bit more speculation maybe about who's in which cabinet position, but I know what he really wants is he wants the talent across the party to be incorporated within that. And that's the criteria I think he's looking at it with.
Do you know which job you might get?
No one knows, and no one knows if they're in or out. And I'd say most Labour MPs, whatever they say, are probably maybe going to have their phones near them when those announcements are made. But I think the most important thing is not really who's doing what job. It's about, can the Labour Party, the Labour government respond to the challenges, a very difficult set of elections in May, and that is, that's the success that every Labour MP wants to see.
Do you think all MPs, whoever, for example, is Chancellor, should get behind them? Do you want to see that unity?
Absolutely. I mean, look, is
it realistic?
It's always going to be the case. Look, people have strong views on that, but I think the point about how you make people feel that they're part of it is, is that agenda having positive results in their local area? I mean, most MPs, brilliant thing about Britain is, and not every country has this, Thursday evening, Friday, everyone's going home, weekend in their constituencies. What people tell you, impacts on British politics in a way that I don't think, every other country in the world has in the same way. That's the strength of our parliamentary system, and more than who's doing what, people want to be able to see that positive impact in their local areas. I mean, if you can doing that, that's how you bring people into this.
Jonathan Reynolds, thank you for speaking to Times Radio.
Thank you.
Paul Nowak, thank you for speaking to Times Radio. What did you make of Andy Burnham's speech?
Well, I thought it was a really ambitious agenda for the country, actually, and a really important one. The three things I took away from it: first of all, the focus on hope. I think for far too many people, there's a sense of despair out there that politics can't make a difference, and I think Andy's sort of setting out his stall absolutely clearly. He wants to bring hope back to every region and nation of the UK. I think really important. Second thing about delivering change. I mean, ultimately, people voted for a Labour government in July 2024 that had one word on the cover of the manifesto, which was change. And for far too many people, that change still seems a long way away. So absolutely right to focus on that. I think the other thing I took from it was about taking back control, and that sort of sense that our politics should be in the service of people rather than the other way around. So I'm absolutely sort of, under no illusion, it's not going to be an easy road for a new Prime Minister. There will still be bumps and pressures, but I think it's a positive start and a positive message.
Well, it's not going to be an easy road, but it's also a lengthy road to deliver on those promises. For example, devolution, if done properly, that's not going to be seen overnight. How much time and patience do you think the public is going to give Andy Burnham and his new administration?
I think there's a lot of goodwill out there, but people are impatient for change, and that's why, alongside the medium-term sort of ambitions around devolution, for example, Andy's talked about the need to give people breathing space, a real focus on the cost of living. So we'll have a budget coming up in the autumn. I want him to use that budget to set out clearly policies that will make a difference in people's pockets. We've been clear at the TUC, for example. We think there's a case to restore the bank surcharge. Our big banks are making £1 billion a week between them. Bonuses last year were £25 billion. We think you could tax the banks more fairly and use that to support a social tariff, to support people low middle incomes with their energy bills this autumn. That's a sort of policy that would have a direct impact on people's household budgets. So it's those sorts of policies, I think, in the short term that will buy him the goodwill for the longer term ambitions that he's got for the country, and rightly so.
And would you back Shabana Mahmood for Chancellor? Have you seen those reports, presumably?
Yeah, I mean, I'm never going to get involved in fantasy politics. I wouldn't like Andy telling me who should be in my senior team, and I wouldn't dare to tell him who should be in his cabinet. Whoever's in the
Some of your union colleagues have done, obviously, about Ed Miliband.
Yeah, and obviously Labour-affiliated unions have, will think that different people are the right people for various cabinet positions. I'm just clear, whoever's in that cabinet, they need to be delivering the sort of agenda that Andy just set out here today, delivering change, giving people hope, taking back control on behalf of the British public.
Paul Nowak, thank you for speaking to Times Radio.